Welcome PWBA fans. It is week 4, episode 4 of PWBA on the road, USBC Queens week from the National Bowling Stadium in Reno, Nevada. And in this week's episode, Aaron Smith and Jason Thomas will join me. We'll talk about the first 3 events on the PWBA Tour, where we stand, the Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and potential breakout players. And we'll also go one-on-one with newly minted USBC Hall of Famer and Director of Operations here on the PWBA Tour. This is Tennelle Milligan. That is all next on PWBA on the road. Welcome inside the National Bowling Stadium, the 2018 USBC Queens, Reno, Nevada, the home, of course, and we are here, PWBA on the road, episode 4. Bill Williams Jr., Jason Thomas, Aaron Smith. We've got 2 newbies, if you will, to PWBA on the road. And before we get into kind of the first 3 events, we look back. The USBC Queens is off and running, 2 squads down, 10 games in the books, and Dasha Kovalova looks pretty good, I'd say. Aaron Smith?
I would definitely agree with that, Emil, and it's great to be finally on the road with you here. So
thank you.
See what I did there? But yeah, Daria has been phenomenal through the first 2 rounds, averaging better than 238 through the fresh and the burn. So yesterday she averaged nearly 250 on the burn, came back, said she was a little, took a quick second to find it, but right back up on top, plus 384 at the moment. So that's a big number right now, and she's got some pretty strong competition behind her. Sweden's Jenny Wegner had the biggest day today, 1185, to move into second. Kelly Kulik, 2-time champion, in third. Shannon O'Keefe in fourth. She won a few weeks ago. And Brianna Cote, the runner-up last week, sitting in 5th. So that's a pretty stout top 5 right now. So a lot of excitement left to come with 5 games left in qualifying.
I would say so. And Jason Thomas, of course, lane conditions always a big thing, obviously, in what the players are bowling on this week. 38 feet, 26 milliliters of oil. And we've heard a lot of the players throughout our extra frame coverage so far talk about the various lane conditions, specifically the fresh. And so your opinions on what we've seen so far in that regard.
Yeah, I know Liz Johnson had a big day this morning on the fresh, and after today, the rest of the tournament's on the fresh. So Liz Johnson, majors, fresh. Liz Johnson led today.
It's a correlation,
yeah,
maybe? Okay.
And I don't think she's ready to give up Player of the Year, and the majors is where she shines, so I would not be surprised at all to see her. I mean, that's not a big prediction, sure, obviously, but let's just watch Liz Johnson. Let's see how that plays out. But the thing that I'm amazed at this week is all the young collegiate players that have joined. You said at the beginning of the season we were going to have some amazing college kids come out, and I'm like, yeah. And then seeing them all here this week, it's like, oh my gosh, there's some really great players that are now out here on tour full time. So it's going to be pretty cool.
That's what happens when you're not on the road on a regular basis. All right, let's get into the first 3 weeks. We'll start with Las Vegas, of course, South Point Bowling Plaza, PWBA Las Vegas Open. Shayna Ung ended up victorious, but I thought it was overall, obviously, a great opening week to start the season.
Absolutely, and you look at that Final 4 for Las Vegas Open, pair of Hall of Famers to kick it off. Of course, Diana Z coming in strong the first week, but Shayna Ung putting on a show, getting that first title, and of course, making it back the following week in Sonoma County.
And she did, and back-to-back weeks in the top 4. You mentioned Hall of Famers, and then it was a Hall of Fame type match in Sonoma County with Verity Crawley and Shannon O'Keefe in the championship match. One of the most incredible matches that I've personally been a part of. What did that look like to you, JT?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Verity about it. I said, hey, nice bowling in Sonoma. I think that was maybe the highest losing score ever. And she said, oh, well, that makes me feel a lot better.
Right.
But, I mean, she's going to win eventually. It's her 3rd second place finish already in 2 years. But, yeah, tough way to lose. I mean, 266, that was probably the 3rd highest game all week.
Yeah.
And, she loses to 268. But what an amazing match that was.
There were not very many high scores, of course, in Sonoma County. And then last week, SoCal, we go to Fountain Valley. Fountain Bowl, the host, Danielle McEwen ends up our winner, ran the ladder. In fact, back-to-back weeks, Shannon O'Keefe and Sonoma ran the ladder. Danielle McEwen did it last week. Clean frames what I took from that. She had no opens in 3 games.
Clean frames, absolutely, and that was such an interesting final to kind of watch develop because obviously some very talented players joining her on there, but Danielle was just so crisp with the moves as the pattern kind of transitioned, and she got the hits too. That was kind of the big thing we saw in those matches, was no one was really able to throw a double or a 3-bagger in there until the match was kind of already over. So that was kind of the thing, getting the hits early and then being able to finish it out, keep those frames clean, and that's how she got title 4.
Top seeds 0 for 3 so far in our standard events, and as we move forward to obviously our first major of the season. But before we wrap up on the first 3 events, just your final thoughts, so to speak, on the first 3 events, which I thought, I mean, you couldn't get better in what we got.
Yeah, they were great champions, obviously great events. I want to talk a little bit about Danielle because, I think Danielle, if you watch Journey to 900, you know how versatile she is with her axis rotation and some things. But one of the things that you don't assume Danielle's maybe great at yet is playing in. And so she's great from out. I think she can hold her own from in, but the thing that was cool about that pattern is it lets you play very straight angles, and the trick was carry.
46 feet.
Yeah. So I think her ability to be very versatile within that narrow window helped her a lot that week, and it was probably really great for her confidence. She became the first player to win a title in all 4 seasons. So I don't know why she doesn't win every week personally, because her physical game's so great. But to see her start off the year with an early win, she could be the player that unseats Liz as Player of the Year.
And speaking of that, of course, we all came in with varying thoughts on who might win Player of the Year, who might win Rookie of the Year. And right now, Danielle McEwen, after that win, is atop the points list. But right behind her is Shannon O'Keefe, of course, who, and I got to say this, Shannon O'Keefe is actually the first player to win a title in 4 seasons, only because she did it a week earlier. Than DMAC. But in that regard, I mean, tides have not necessarily changed, but there's definitely a different feel atop the points list right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. But again, to go back to Liz and majors, we'll see what happens after the end of this week. But for sure, I mean, Shannon came out early on this show and said her goal this year is to win Player of the Year. So, Liz has had a stranglehold on it, but she's got a lot of competition this year. Shayna Ung obviously was great the first couple of weeks, but she's not going to win Player of the Year because she's not going to bowl anymore. Right. But Shannon's right there. She's almost made the show all 3 weeks. This tournament is kind of a mixed bag, but she's off to a great start. She's not missing the cut. No. But anything can happen in match play, so we'll see.
Aaron, and your thoughts on Player of the Year? We talked about, obviously, Liz Johnner, reigning 3-time Player of the Year. But Danielle, Shannon, I mean, even from a far point, Brianna Cote looked very good, and she's had a pretty solid season to this point as well. Anyone else kind of stand out in that sense?
One other player, and we talked a little bit about her from Sonoma County, is Verdi Crawley's been off to a strong start as well. And as Jason said, she's going to break through. She's going to get that W at some point. So it's just a matter of, I think with her, if she gets one, it's going to be 2 or 3 real quick after that. So I think she's definitely not one to sleep on in this race, but it's pretty fun to kind of have this kind of setup here so far in the early going. A lot of players in contention early, but what Jason said, Liz, majors,
you're
we'll
right.
Have to wait and see.
You're absolutely right. Don't forget about obviously the defending champion Diana Zapialova, who was firmly obviously in the cut, but that wasn't a big deal anyway because she won last year. She was automatically guaranteed a spot in the match play bracket. Fellas, I'm not sure honestly what to make of the Rookie of the Year race at the moment, simply because of the influx of rookies that are bowling for the first time this week. All I know is Jordan Richard, Haley Richard, Jessica Milan, Sarah Willie, Stephanie Schwartz, Jen King, Sydney Brummett. I mean, we could just literally keep going. Pamela Alvarez, who joined us early on Extra Frame. I mean, that class to me is like our first kind of real class. So we've got so many players young and early in their careers. Just your thoughts on where we are.
Well, you mentioned all the big names there. Stephanie Schwartz as well from Stephen F. Austin. Most of those players actually got their cards after bowling the women's championship, so they missed out on the first few events, so that's going to hurt them in the point race. Obviously, Sydney's been out here every week so far, so building up a few extra points. But if I had to go out on a limb and say if there's one of those players that I thought could come out here and grab an early win, Jordan Richard. That's my bold prediction.
And that's not. I don't think that's a bold one. I think that's certainly and absolutely could happen. Jason, same thing on the rookie class per se.
I have no clue what's going to happen. I mean, they're just so good. Obviously, I think Jordan Richard's an amazing talent, but I think some of the other players might have a little more bowling experience and maybe are a little more seasoned. Have had opportunities in the winner's circle in big time events. Stephanie Schwartz just won the singles championship. Sydney won it the year before she did. It's just you have no clue what's going to happen because there's so much talent, and we're just going to have to watch and enjoy it.
Any of those players would fall into your breakout player category, or can we go from the experience perspective and pull a name from out of the hat in that regard?
That's a great question, and there's plenty of players who have been on the tour for a few years now who've kind of knocked on the door here and there, and we're kind of waiting to see them get that breakthrough win. And once again, it's one of those things where you just wait for one of these players to get a win, and you think it's going to be quite a few. I'm excited to see Missy Parkin this year. Obviously, the 2011 Queens winners has yet to capture an actual PWBA Tour title, but having a good showing last week, off to a fairly strong start this week, and I think this is going to be her year to go out and get that win.
Nicely done. Nice name there. Missy Parkin did finish fourth in front of the hometown crowd at Fountain Bowl in Fountain Valley, California. JT, obviously the rookies situation the same, but is there a player that maybe has changed your mind or made you say, hey, this could be the player that could kind of be that breakout candidate, if you will?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, Missy, I think Aaron made a good prediction there with her. And the thing that's amazing about her is she just had a baby. So she bowled great at the Tour Championship, almost made the show there, 6 months pregnant, and then has a baby, and then comes back and makes the show in the third week of the season. So that's pretty amazing. Beyond that, it could be anybody. It just could be a whole host of players. As far as maybe who gets their first title, you got to look at somebody like Sandra Gongora. So much talent, and I think all these young players and all the players from Mexico coming out it's gonna build her confidence, because I think she wants to be known as the top dog there from Mexico. So I would look for maybe her to pull off a title. But boy, it's just gonna be so hard with all the great rookies and all the, you got Shannon, who I made the mistake of forgetting that she won a title earlier in the segment. But yeah, I mean, Shannon's already won. Liz is gonna get a title. Danielle's already won. Kelly's maybe off to a slow start, so she's probably going to be very hungry.
She's bowling well so far this week.
Yeah, so I mean, there's just so many great players. I mean, I don't know how you win out here. It's just brutal.
Well, basically what he's saying is this could be the best PWBA Tour season we have seen thus far, and so we look forward to the conclusion of it. We've got a long way to go. We've got a long way to go here at the USBC Queens. Earlier in this week, we had a chance to take you behind the scenes with Media Day, photo shoots, promo videos, etc. Let's take a look at that, and also talk about why it's so important for us to be as media friendly as we can on the PWBA Tour.
Social media is everything nowadays. I mean, it's how everybody does their advertisement, everybody promotes, and it's really cool for us as the professionals to be able to interact with them, because people get excited. I mean, it makes them feel like they're involved.
Now I think it's really important for those girls that are growing up to be able to come in and just watch. They can sit on extra frame all day if they want to. Probably not recommended by their mom and dad, but they could totally do it if they wanted to. And just really get to know and learn. It's a great venue for them to get more information. And it's great for us as the athletes to be able to sit here and share with them, even though they may not be able to make it to a pro-am.
I mean, I think it's important to give yourself a brand, and I think that's what it does. It really gets your face out there and just allows people to see you for who you are. But I think it's important as well for the PWBA, because they have players that represent them, and you need that kind of media in order to, publish the PWBA. Without the players, there is no PWBA.
what makes bowling so special in general is everyone can do it, you know, and you can't go play football and you can't go, you know, like just on a, but, and I think we do that better than anybody as far as bowling, and, you know, as far as media and everything. I think PWBA does a great job, and it's, I just think it's good for the fans and it's good for the sport.
The beauty of bowling is that everyone can do it. But then I think the curse of bowling is that everyone can do it, because then everybody thinks that's the recreational side, that's bowling, and they don't understand the patterns and the ball dynamics. And but it's our job to educate everyone about the dynamics of the Professional Women's Bowling Association and shout it from the rooftops.
Fantastic look at Media Day. Big thanks to all of the players that were able to join us. It was fun to plan, and thankfully we had a lot of space here at the National Bowling Stadium. But enough about me, enough about Media Day. How about the young woman to my right, Tennelle Milligan, Director of Operations for the Professional Women's Bowling Association, and newly fresh inducted USBC Hall of Famer. Has that part sunk in yet at all?
Hall of Fame, not quite yet. Not quite yet. I walked by, you know, many players this last week, and they're like, "What up, Hoff?" And I had to look around for a minute and realized that they were talking to me, and I'm like, "Hi." So,
nicely done.
No.
Nicely done. When you got the call, just kind of talk about it briefly, but and you talked about it in your induction speech. But when you got the call, yeah, I know that the tears were flowing. But your first thought when you heard the news
was, "Is this real?" That was the first thought. Really? Me? I'd always hoped, but I never imagined that call would come, especially with, you know, my career was mighty,
right,
and brief. But I don't think anybody ever expects it, and I hope not. I definitely didn't expect it, but it was, yeah, just unbelievable.
Your career, and a lot of it had to do with the Professional Women's Bowling Association. Now, a new role, in a sense, you're the Director of Operations here. Before we get into that, this week, the USBC Queens, first major of the season. You've won this event back in 2005, and also had on the other side of it as well in 2010, losing to Kelly Kulick. You know, what do you remember about both of your experiences, both in 2005 and 2010?
Well, in 2005, we didn't have a PWBA Tour at the time, so it was one of our few big events, so it was something you had to take advantage of. I remember bowling newly inducted Hall of Famer that year was Anne-Marie Dugan for the title. So again, another lady that I looked up to.
Sure.
Bowling one of my idols for major championship. Unbelievable. Again, just something that you dream of. This tournament is you never know what's going to happen tournament, and it's a major. It's a major, and you get a crown. You get a crown to put on your head. I'm never going to be a princess, so I'm going to be a queen. And then in 2010, leading the entire event, coming up against Kelly Kulick, you know, a dear friend of mine.
Future Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. And then losing, you know, just having a child. I had my daughter in 2009, came back 8 months later and bowling the USBC Queens for a chance at a second tiara, and just coming up short. But relishing in the moment that had a great opportunity.
Right.
And I think that was the last time I really competed at such a high level. And to lose to a friend, nobody likes to lose, but to Kelly, it's a pretty good person to lose to.
What about the importance of this event? You mentioned, I mean, you get a chance to wear a crown, to wear the tiara. The importance, and not only of the Queens, but on our schedule, it's the first major of the season. So, you know, the players are looking forward to it early, and now it's here this week.
Oh, of course it's important. Every major is important, but this one is the kickoff. This one sets the tone for the entire year.
Good point.
As they go in, they start, I mean, your points on the PWBA side, it builds up. You have a little bit of a cushion, and now you have a confidence level that the bar is raised, and people are gunning for you, but, you know, we'll use, I mean, Liz Johnson
Yeah.
in a major, let's use her as an example. She gets hot here, she's gonna step on the pedal and wave goodbye to the girls.
That might be the today's calling card from Jason Thomas. Liz Johnson, majors? Yeah, you can't go wrong in that situation. Again, she had a great day today. Now, Director of Operations, different role, obviously, of course, from being a player. And now you've been in the role, at least for 2 years. And, have you kind of gotten into that fluidity, that fluidity in motion, and, where it's like, okay, I'm far removed enough to where I can, confidently, do what I have to do from an operational standpoint?
Well, you're still always learning your role, and I'm learning every day that, yes, these are my friends, these are my, competitors,
Sure.
But on the other side now, I'm responsible for their tour, their events. I have a great team that helps, of course, but I have to make sure that these girls, have a place to showcase those talents week in, week out. And trying to separate it, the beginning was hard, but
sure.
it does get easier, and the girls have responded well to it, to understand, yes, Tennelle was, a player. We competed
Sure.
against her, but at the same time now, I think that also helps in a respect level, that they trust in the sense that I get it.
That's important, and we know you're popular either way it goes, and we're doing things just like that. The tour continues to grow, which is obviously what we want and everyone wants. We talked about it earlier in our segment in regards to rookie class and the amount of players and that we see now. Anything that has surprised you so far? Early part of the 2018 season, and anything obviously you're looking forward to specifically as we move forward?
Anything that has surprises me. I get surprised every week out here. These ladies are extremely talented at all aspects. But I'm watching them come out, and coming from collegiate bowling, I'm glad I have my high heels on now instead of my bowling shoes. These girls are good. These girls are amazing. I don't know if I'm really surprised because of that. I do see breakout stars. I am seeing somebody that I wasn't quite sure how they would adapt to tour life.
Sure.
One of those players being Laura Plazas, young, mighty girl from Columbia.
Yes.
Graduated from, I believe, Wichita State.
Yep.
She competed for them, and that girl's got some spice. She's fun to watch.
That's the second time I've heard that word this week from a player from Colombia. so it must be something in Colombia. Nicely done. Anyone else?
There's a lot of them as they're coming out. We just had recently a few new, members just joined. They came out. Haley Richards, Jordan Richard, those two girls are going to make a splash out here. Stephanie Schwartz, as Sydney Brummett, she joined early, and it's kind of nice because those girls were part of Junior Team USA, which I was a part of at that time. So watching them grow, I'm a little gray, so that's just showing it. But I'm watching them grow from the time that they were 15 years old to now, and I'm very proud.
Tough
like
question.
A mom.
You are a mother figure for sure. For all of us, actually, you keep all of us in line on the staff. You've been a player, obviously now in a different role, but what's been the best part? And it could be multiple, obviously, but best parts about being a part of the PWBA Tour in both capacities.
Oh, geez, the best part. When I was out on tour, the best part was the bowling was always fun when you bowled well. But it was always when you took those shoes off and you got in your car and you drove to the next stop, and there's just stories. We drove to stops. It was a little bit of a longer duration with the old PWBA. So it's the stories, the things that you see, the things that you talk about, the things that you can't talk about. Definitely. But now, on the other side of it, is that it's back. And these girls, the ones that were out here before, they know it's a difference.
Right.
But I think they're happy that it's back. I know that they're happy that it's back. And all I hear about from the new players is thank you that it's back. So thank you to all of our supporters and that brought back the tour. These girls they're appreciative. But on this side of it, it's just fun. It's just fun to see them.
Are you ready to crown a champion next week?
Ready to crown a champion all the time. We're literally going to crown a champion,
Yes, we
correct?
are. Yes.
So, yeah, we're ready. USBC Queens, let's put a tiara on somebody.
We will do that Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch it live on CBS Sports Network. Our Director of Operations, Tennelle Milligan, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Her first experience on PWBA on the road, and certainly I hope it's not yours. If it is, go back and watch the prior 3 episodes. This is episode 4. Next week, well, I guess about a week and a half from this point, we'll be in East Hartford, Connecticut, in our first trip to the East Coast on the 2018 season. Want to give a shout out to the tournament staff that Tennelle mentioned. Tennelle, Kathy Watka, Kathy Kavicki, Jason Thomas, Jason McEwen, Aaron Smith, Matt Canizaro, and everyone who makes this possible. Also shout out to Craig Ellie and Jeff Goodger for all their hard work. Nicole Osborne, Jason Zhao as well for all they did this week during Media Day. Don't forget our coverage continues today, Saturday, right?
I lose track of days out
Me
here,
too,
but yes,
that's-
it is Saturday is our
Okay.
next round.
Yes, Saturday at noon Eastern, Bowl TV on Extra Frame. Be sure to check that out. All of your results, standings, and everything you need, bowl.com and pwba.com. So for all of our guests today, my name is Emil Williams Jr. We will see you next week in East Hartford, Connecticut. It's the PWBA On the Road show. We'll see you.